You are listening to the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast, episode 55. This week on the show, we kick off Season 3, and we're talking social media and its impact on the outdoor industry and the waterfowl hunting industry in general. All right, welcome to the 55th episode of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. We're your on-demand audio source for all things waterfowl and waterfowl hunting. Check us out at hpoutdoors.com. We're across all the social media platforms, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram. If you'd like to reach out to us directly, you can do so via email at info@hpoutdoors.com. If you want to come over to our Facebook listeners group, chat it up with us and a bunch of folks that listen to the show, check us out on Facebook. It's the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast Listeners Group. If you just Google that or search it in Facebook, you'll find that. Request access will get you in there. And if you're trying to catch up on episodes or you want to look back on some of your favorites, you can check us out on iTunes or wherever fine podcasts are found. Joining me this week, as he always does, fresh off his journey out west, Minivan Dan. How's it going, buddy?
The minivan is running well. I didn't end up taking that to Colorado, but doing well, man. Getting the waterfowl fever back. We had the Ducks Unlimited weekend here in Linesville, Pennsylvania this weekend, so made it over there, and some really good things going on. Delta had a piece of the parade there, a float, and they were handing out hats, which were awesome. So I got myself a new hat. I saw Tim Schloss there with the taxidermy, talked to him a little bit, just had some amazing mounts in the gymnasium there, and a lot of new outfitters there, some out of Maryland and still some of the same in PA. So it was pretty cool. Go up there and just see what else is new, and getting back to life on the East Coast here.
Yeah, well, while you were gone, we went ahead and started waterfowl season without you. Got our goose season underway down here in Virginia, and I got to be honest with you, I was a little bit worried because, the first week and a half or so, I mean, we had a really difficult time kind of finding birds in any number of concentration kind of situations. So didn't go out for the first weekend and opted to just scout instead, and finally we got on a spot and we hunted it I guess last weekend or something like that, and it took a 2-man limit, which in Virginia is 20 birds, 10 per. Got a band. It was on 9/11, so I kind of dubbed it the 9/11 band, and it's a pretty cool keepsake. And so much about hunting is about memories and just things that you hold on to. Whether it's a hunt with your dad out in the the mountains, or a hunt with your kids or something like that. That just means a little bit more than maybe some of the other ones. And getting a band on 9/11 is pretty cool. And I don't know how many bands I'll be lucky enough to harvest in my lifetime, but one that what I was able to get on 9/11 will definitely be one that will be fond in my memory. So very cool hunt, pretty cool experience. So yeah.
Did you did you report that one?
I did. The bird was banded in 2010, and it was a local bird. But
nice.
When you're a local bird and you've been banded in 2010 and you've been able to evade danger for that long in our area where you're getting hunted pretty heavily, it's pretty impressive. So we knew when we got the bird that the band was pretty weathered and showed some wear and some rust a little bit and things like that. So yeah, it was cool. It's sometimes when you get a band, it's like, oh, he was banded like 6 days ago, when he could barely fly or whatever. It's kind of like, oh, whatever. But when you get a band that's been around for a while, it always makes you think, well, how many miles has that bird covered and where has he been? And especially when you get ones from outside of your area, it's always pretty cool. But yeah, fun to get one that's been around for a little while. And I just got my thing in the mail yesterday from the Department of the Interior doing the wing clipping and the tail feathers and stuff. So I'll be submitting that information again from my harvests this year. So
Nice.
lots of good stuff. Doing my part to try to support the research efforts that go on.
Yeah, that the ride out to Colorado, everyone's setting up for opening day, and then the crew that I usually hunt with on the opener, I'm like, all right, go get them, guys, and I get pictures, 6 down, 4 bands, and I'm like, what is going on? And then next picture, there's like 10 down, 5 bands, and I'm like, oh my gosh! And they ended up with 15 birds on the opener and 8 bands. So, I mean, it's not all about the bands like we always say, but I mean, that definitely adds to it. That's a great opener. And then, just getting Snapchats the entire time out there. If we ever went back into town and, the individual snaps of just piles of birds. And, that's tough to see when you're not seeing any elk out there. And then, this past weekend, today's Sunday, this is coming out tomorrow. And yesterday was the first full weekend at home. And I asked my wife Friday night, can I sneak out in the morning and I'll be home for the parade? And she didn't quite think that was a great idea. So the guys that went out killed 24 and, another bang out morning for them. So it's been a good September. And, I'm waiting to get out next weekend. My buddy's getting married and I'm doing the photography for it. So I won't be able to do that. So I'm probably going to miss the entire early season, which is pretty painful here.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. I got to say, I like the early season because, there's high limits and you've been off all summer and that kind of stuff. But the hunting this time of year is just, I can't say that I don't like it because I do, but I'm like you in the sense that if my wife's giving me a little pushback or something like that, I don't burn up my day, my brownie points in September. I'm saving my points till later in the year because I tell you, you go out there, you sit, you sweat, you're dealing with bugs, you're dealing with all that kind of stuff. I mean, it's still better than, sitting at work, of course, but it's tough hunting sometimes. And, I'm coaching T-ball right now. So my son's got T-ball every Saturday through the end of October. So all my hunting's coming on Sundays and, that kind of stuff. So I'm biding my time. So don't make mama too upset right now. Yep. Wait till you get some of those divers that you can take pictures of and send me before you get all upset.
When our season's out already, you mean?
Well, that's when you just come down here and we'll hunt them down here.
That sounds like a plan. A plan.
So this week, Dan, we're going to take on one of the topics that's, kind of controversial these days. A lot of firestorms start because of it, and so there's good sides and bad sides to it. But of course, we're talking social media here, and we've never really addressed social media to that extent on this show. And given some of the events that have taken place recently, I think it's a good time to do it. And we have a unique perspective here in the sense that, when the thing with Under Armour happened and stuff like that, you get a lot of people that want to get their opinion out right away and take a stance and, whatever. And here we are, I don't know, 3 weeks after that, 4 weeks maybe now. And I haven't seen a single post on Facebook. I haven't seen, anybody go on a quote unquote rant about it or any of that kind of stuff. So I find it interesting that kind of thing fizzles out so quickly. And it's on to the next thing, but we're going to dive into that a little bit, but, this is going to be sort of the new format that we've discussed. Our kind of thought is we're going to kind of clean up the show and be a little more concise with what we're talking about. And what I mean by that is when you see a show title that says social media, you're going to be able to turn on the show and within a fairly short amount of time get into social media discussion, not, have to skim ahead 30 minutes into the episode to find, that particular topic that you might be looking for that show. So it's a little more consistent with what's, fairly common, but it also gives us the opportunity to sort of expand on some of the topics that we would typically cover, in maybe the news segment of the old format where we would cover it for a few minutes and then move on to the next. This gives us the opportunity to expand on those kinds of discussions and really give them, the back and forth that they probably deserve. So I think this will be good. And we're still going to do, we're going to go to a more frequent release. So we're still going to put out the same amount of information in aggregate, but each episode is going to be more focused on the particular topic that we're getting into. So hopefully everyone will like that. But of course, we're always open to feedback. So if for some reason it's not working for you guys, you let us know and we'll make the change, you know?
Yeah, I think I like this a little bit better. Even though, the duck profile and everything, that really went well, and the news and stuff like that. But I mean, if it's important, we're going to bring it up and talk about it and go more in depth with it. I think the first, going into season 3, we've covered things really broadly, I guess you could say. And it's time to get down and dirty a little bit and even do some more learning ourselves and pass that on to the listeners.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, in the past, we would try to keep the episodes to about an hour if we could, right? And if we're talking about a topic or we're doing an interview, we may, cut the topic short or speak in more generalities just to maintain the time frame. But now, we're going to allow that whole hour for the discussion if we need it. Some episodes might be a little bit shorter, some might be a little bit longer. But, the idea here is to get out the information that's going to be most beneficial and most engaging for our audience. So hopefully you guys like it, and and we'll see how it goes. But this week, to start off season 3, we are going to talk social media. And Deanna, I don't know how I really want to start about this, but I guess in general, in a general sense, do you feel that social media as we know it today overall has been a net gain or a net, not for loss, but has it done more harm than good? Or do you think it's it's done some good, for the outdoor industry, but let's, in general outdoor industry, but let's kind of scope it more towards waterfowl, obviously, if we can.
I think it's a great thing. I think it gets, some people in the cities might have never even known about hunting besides, a poster here and there. But now with, hashtags and everything else, I think it gets the word out a lot more. And that being said, it's a lot easier for organizations like PETA and animal rights groups to really attack if they feel it's needed. But I think it's been a huge net gain overall. What do you think?
So I don't know if I can say that. So here's my thing. I think it's a huge value and huge gain to conservation and groups like Delta and Ducks Unlimited being able to reach and, like you said, how PETA and them use it to attack us. Well, we can use it the same way to organize and rally and, share information and spread word about great events or conservation efforts that are ongoing, things like that. I think for that stuff, it's been invaluable. I mean, think about, I would bet that, back before the social media wave started, if you were someone trying to stand up a Delta or a Ducks Unlimited chapter, that was a hard thing to do. It's word of mouth. It's pounding newspapers. It's that kind of thing. Now you can simply post it on your page and all of your friends know it instantly and they can share it with their friends. And think about that, how that works, so because it's so effective like that, that's a net gain, I think, for all conservation efforts and, those sort of efforts. But, I think I think there is a ton, and I mean a ton of negative that comes along with it. And so oftentimes with a lot of things in life, we're our own worst enemies, and I've seen some things on social media that, you makes you want to shake your head. And I truly wonder if there's a shift in the outdoor arena in general that is in large part due to social media that might be, might be impossible to reverse as we go. And, I think it could have some pretty devastating long-term effects, honestly. So many people out there, all they care about is getting those pictures to put on Facebook and, piles of birds and hashtagging and, drawing a following and making everyone think that they're the best hunter that's ever been. And, everybody, when I started watching outdoor media, let's say, it was from the Real Tree Monster Buck videos, right? That's what got me into outdoor media back in the day, and it was on VHS. And I mean, I thought, wow, how cool would it be to be a professional hunter and do these things and all that kind of stuff. And then, you know, you've seen the influx of outdoor television programming and all that kind of stuff, and the YouTube videos and all of these things that come into it, and it's just boomed into this thing, and everybody wants their piece. Well, you know, everybody knows how hard it is to do that, to be that, you know, to get into that role, but everyone, you know, but you don't get there without putting big stacks of birds on, you know, social media. And that's pretty much the platform that everyone uses to try to market themselves. So they got to come across as the best and the baddest. And, you know, I think that there's some really dangerous repercussions that we're seeing with this. And I mean, back in, I can't even remember what season it was, but we had Jeff Coates on the show, you know, big time sea duck hunter guide out on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. And he even referenced that he thinks that social media was a big reason why they were looking at lowering the limits on sea ducks, because they're difficult to count, right? They're difficult to get a scientific, grasp on the populations and breeding numbers and all those sort of things. So they'll literally look at social media and see just the piles of birds that are going on there, and, you know, the length of the season and things like that. So, you know, he believed that there was actually a direct impact by that. And, you know, I think that there's probably some validity to that. You know, to what level, I don't know, but I would be surprised if it wasn't, you know, at least factored in to some degree.
It just makes you think, and it makes you realize how vast the audience is. You better believe that every law authority that there is looking at your pictures. In one way or another, if it's a fake profile or a regular profile, or, you know, going on the hashtags or whatever, like that's just thinking about, you know, the people that shoot over their limit and have the stacks in there and end up getting caught. But yeah, I mean, that's seems like not a sure way of figuring out limits for birds, but I'd have to agree with Jeff there. When there's that many being shot compared to what they're used to, or used to seeing, or used to knowing what's being killed, then that does start to make a little bit of sense.
Yeah, I agree. And I mean, you know, you talk about social media and the impact that it's had on our world today. You know, before, you used to be, when you went to a job interview, you were judged on that interview, your references, which you would give like 3, and then your resume. Today, you get all of that, and then they look at your social media and they dig through your Instagram and your Facebook and your Twitter and your Snapchat or whatever they can get their hands on. Their, you know, your Tumblr, your LinkedIn. You know, we put so much information out there about ourselves. Everyone that has access to that's going to use it. You know, that includes law enforcement, employers, you know, friends, you know, people that are adversaries to the hunting and the hunting industry, PETA, you know, those types of folks. So, like I said, sometimes we're our worst enemy with what we put out on the social media for people to use. I sound like an old man, the social media. But so I want to take a global issue here that everyone has beaten to death, but I do want to offer our take on it. And, you know, the situation with Under Armour and kind of what went down there. And I know it's not waterfowl related, but, you know, I'm curious to hear your take on that and sort of, you know, how you feel about how that all shook out.
It's I think just taking a step back and realizing that as hunters, even with perfect shots, which Josh Bomar, that throw pretty much was perfect, it's not always a pretty sight. You know, there's with the weapons that we have today with shotguns and full chokes and everything, you know, sometimes when you shoot a bird and you blow its beak off, it's pretty gory. Like, you're out there to harvest birds and put meat on a table, but it's not always pretty. It is killing. And, you know, the disconnect that anti-hunters have when they see something like that is, there's just no rational explanation for it. I mean, that's what it comes down to.
Dan, this is different. This is different, Dan. I mean, you've had people within the hunting community not just anti-hunters, people within the hunting community that have also, I don't want to say attacked, but have been not as supportive of this particular issue, even though he hasn't done anything illegal and all that kind of stuff,
Right. So this is all right. And I would have to say that a lot of the people that are attacking him or saying that that was reckless have no idea what his background is. All right. He was a collegiate javelin thrower. He made his own javelin. He made his own spear for this hunt. This guy's been, you're talking about 8 years of training for this one hunt. And he knew at the very first time that he started throwing javelin that he wanted to harvest an animal with a spear. So you take a guy that is like, I don't even know how tall he is. He has to be 6'4", totally jacked up, just a huge guy, has 8 years experience or more of javelin throwing, practices all the time. He knows his limit is about 15 yards max of what he's going to throw the spear. And he does it. He does it legally. He does it ethically. And I think a lot of the people just have no idea about the background. So he throws a spear, and the guy, obviously, they're entertainers. Sarah Bomar she was vegan 3 years ago and now is a UA, or was on the Under Armour hunt team, But they're entertainers. They do that. The guy is totally jacked up, starts jumping around, gets super excited, which that has to be a thrill. The thing fake charged him like 2 or 3 times. He hit it perfect. It ran into a tree, pretty much sliced it open. And then he gets up on it, and there's a lot of stuff that part right there, they probably shouldn't have shown. And I think that they, looking back on it, they agree that they shouldn't have shown it. But they did, and that's where the backlash is at. So, you have intestines, and he has blood on his face, and he's doing selfies, and that's where the social media, once you realize that, that's a sensitive subject, especially on bears, that people don't want to see, and that's where the backlash came from.
I haven't seen the full video, because when it first came out and back when, and there was pictures, of him, I didn't have any interest. I was like, I could care less that a guy's doing that. So I didn't even watch the video. I tried to watch it once it became like a big thing, and, you could only find clips of it or whatever. But, I know what he did was a little over the top, but for a long time, this is how guys made their mark in the industry of entertainment in the outdoors. Dancing around, fist pumping in the tree stand, and the highest levels are guilty of this. Michael Waddell was, would be like playing his bow as like an air guitar after he just shot a buck. And, Stan Potts is, give me a minute, folks, tearing up every time he sees a buck, kind of thing. And it's all good. I have to admit, like, I loved watching those videos when I was, first getting into outdoor programming. I loved it. It got me fired up. I thought it was funny. And, but I look at the world that we live in now, and even though that wasn't that long ago, it's a big difference from when it was then and what it is now. And, I just find it very interesting, man, that, something like this can become such a big deal. And I have my own theory as to why it is, and how it can be avoided. But, I'm curious to you what you think about Under Armour's position, in the sense that when it first happened, they promoted it essentially.
Yep.
And
back
then
in
a couple months,
May.
a couple months later, there's some backlash, and all of a sudden, all hell breaks loose. How do you feel about
that? Okay. So the Bomars were on, Gritty Bowman podcast. I listened to that, and, they said that they're, I don't know if it was from the top execs, but a lot of them were texting him, congrats and good work. That's awesome promotion, blah, 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 blah. And then, the backlash started, and they realized that hunting is only, 0.1% of what their actual money-making business is. So, hunting to them almost seems like a hobby, even though I think Kip is his name, the CEO of it. He's a big hunter, hunts with Cameron Haynes all the time. And, I was always looking at Cameron to see what he had to say, and he's pretty much such good friends with him that he said that he's not going to leave no matter what. Pretty much, they're about family. They name their kids the same name and all that. But when you realize how big of a company Under Armour is and multinational, and then you get Canadian government involved looking into Bomar to see if it was legal, and now they're going to make it illegal to spear hunt bear. They didn't want their name associated with it, even though Josh Bomar wasn't even an Under Armour athlete. His wife, Sarah, was. So I think for them to, like you said, there hasn't been a ton of backlash in the recent weeks. If you go onto Under Armour's Facebook page, every post that they put up still has comments on it, because someone will be elk hunting and they'll be like, oh, how can you promote this? And well, it is the UA Hunt page. They do, they did take that leap into the hunting side where Nike and Reebok and a lot of other companies won't even dare to go because it's such a high risk situation to go onto that side. So they realize that it's better to cut ties with that group. From an outsider, who knows what kind of relationship they had in the first place. And, it might have been the last straw for many reasons, but they wanted to distance themselves. And when you can see a lot of money going out the door from non-hunters because of that, compared to the little bit of money going out the door from hunters, I think it's just a straight business decision for them, and that's how they're going to keep making money.
Yeah, I'm going to take a two-prong approach at this. Every hunter wants, is asked, and especially these professional hunters, what's your stance on this, that, and the other. I'll tell you right now, and this really, really irritates me. Any hunter out there, including Cameron Hands, I don't care what he says. If he tries to explain to somebody and make somebody to believe that money doesn't have something to do with with him not leaving Under Armour, that's crap. I mean, that is a blatant lie. He might be best friends with those guys, but he doesn't work for free. Nobody does. I don't care what he says. Everybody out there that's in the outdoor industry is doing it to the level that they do it because there's money to be made. Bottom line. Second thing is, you hit on it exactly with my position on Under Armour. They are within their right 100% to distance themselves from anyone they want for whatever reason they want. It's their product. They're a publicly traded company. The only people that they are responsible to are the people that own that stock. And their number one goal and priority is to keep that stock price up. So if something like this could potentially hurt them, they're going to distance themselves. I don't blame them for what they did. What I do blame them for is they ventured into an area that is a very, very slippery slope. And you mentioned it, Nike, Reebok, companies like that, they have not gotten into it. And this is really what it boils down for me is, the outdoor industry is a big industry. People put a lot of money into hunting and fishing. I put a lot of money into hunting and fishing. When I'm not at work and I'm not coaching my kids baseball and that kind of stuff, I'm doing outdoor related stuff, right? So when I look at a company who, when I put so much of my life and my time and energy into the outdoors, why do I want to support a company that's not as invested in it as I am? Because, I live in a fairly liberal area, right outside Washington, D.C. Hunting is not the norm here, right? I mean, I get judged all the time by people that are non-hunters that don't get it, right? And it's worse in a lot of areas around the country. I mean, a lot of hunters deal with this, right? So we have no choice. We have to band together. We have to support groups like Ducks Unlimited, Delta Waterfowl, Rocky Mountain Elk Foundation, all of these types of people that are out there doing good work on behalf of hunters, right? And Under Armour wants to get into that when there's money to be made, right? But when times get tough and they're at risk, they back off. You've seen a lot of companies, Drake, Masio, whoever else out there that have taken hardline positions in support hunting. That's kind of where I take issue. It's like, if you're gonna be a hunter and make money off of hunters, support what we do, right? And because part of me wants to, I don't know if this is right or wrong. This is my just off the cuff opinion. part of me thinks that the companies like Under Armour are to blame for things like this, because people are out there making videos, doing stupid things, taking pictures, trying to get attention to attract a company like Under Armour to stroke them a check for a sponsorship. I mean, that's the reality of it, right?
Right.
I mean, if you're out there to just harvest birds with your family, you're not putting blood on your face and posting it to everything and making it, spreading it all around, right? I mean, all of it comes back around money and fame and exposure. And it's like, okay, if you want to play in that arena, play. But I mean, you take the bad when with the good, right? I mean, there's going to be days when it's good and there's going to be days when it's bad. And when the sun don't shine, it don't shine. And, companies have to make decisions when it comes to time like that. And, Under Armour, I don't blame them. They had no choice. I mean, the outdoor piece of their business is such a small piece. They had no choice. But if it was a company like Sitka or Realtree or something like that, a Drake Waterfowl, a company whose entire company survives on outdoor hunting and fishing enthusiasts, you can guarantee they would have taken a different approach to this, right? And
Mossy Oak. Tim Burnett has over 100 spear kills, and he's on video every year. He's still on the Outdoor Channel.
Yeah. I mean, it's just one of those things, man. It's like, just be what you are, right? I mean, own it. Be what you are. If you're going to be an outdoor company and supply outdoor enthusiasts, and not to mention, not just be a company, but take on the biggest names in the business. Lee and Tiffany, the Drurys. I mean, they're not just like unknown person before this video, Sarah Bomar, whatever her name is. I mean, they're playing with the big boys, right? And Cam Haynes, those guys are on screen, killing game, posting pictures, doing it big, going shows, charging appearance fees, all that kind of stuff, wearing Under Armour crap. I mean, that's the bottom line. And when you get an opportunity to make money off of those people, we'll do it, no problem. First time that you get pushback and you got to defend yourself a little bit, all of a sudden the person that was making you that money is the one to go. Right. That's the big business. That's corporate world. I get it, but my personal opinion, I'm going to hitch my wagon to a company that's going to, support my lifestyle and ethical and legal ways of pursuing game. That's just me. But I don't hate Under Armour. I love their workout stuff. I'll still buy their workout gear. I don't own any Under Armour hunt gear, so I don't have any to give away or burn. I think that's a little over the top. I mean, that's like, I related to the foils thing a couple years back. If the short meat honker is or the straight meat honker, whatever it's called, if that's your favorite goose call you've ever blown, I mean, blow the damn thing. Who cares? You know what I mean?
Right.
But it's like, you've already bought that call, but are you going to buy another one from him? I don't know. Maybe not. But that's kind of how I feel about Under Armour, man. It's one of those things where I don't hate them and I don't blame them for what they did. I really don't.
Yeah.
But,
and I mean, just listening to other people, listening to, or even Gritty Bowman, going back to the same thing, and Joe Rogan, them talking about it, you do in one way, you don't know what their contract says. You don't know if it's just the way you have to present yourself. If you're that big of a celebrity, I mean, they have millions of viewers. Sarah Bomar has over 1 million on her Instagram account. So you're reaching out to a lot of people. And Cameron Haynes, when he kills something, he says the first picture he shows usually will be a picture of cutting up the meat and making a statement, so people realize that, hey, I'm feeding myself, I'm feeding my family this lean, just this wonderful food, this wonderful meat. And then they'll go back to the pictures of the hunt, and then they'll go back to a harvest picture. And that's a totally different approach. He approaches it that way compared to just putting a video out of spearing a bear and getting pumped up. And, and
that's all good. But that argument that they're trying to make on the contractual piece of that falls apart, because Under Armour, they promoted that video and they were using it as marketing material when it first happened. So
it was definitely, there's both sides.
There's no contractual, issue there. It was a firestorm that they were trying to distance themselves over. Yep. Again, I don't blame them for doing that. They did what they had to do. Bottom line,
it's so tough because that they did have to do that. They had to do that, and on the other hand, I think that they have brought a ton of new hunters through their social media and through their marketing into hunting. I think they've brought a ton of new hunters. You go into Dick's Sporting Goods and see, the big marketing billboards and stuff like that with hunters on them, and, they have nice clothes and stuff like that. I think you have to give them props for going into that side, but then on the other hand, they messed up.
Yeah,
they messed up with the situation.
But like the thing, like you're just saying, sort of, and I agree with you. They have done that. They've brought the exposure up. They've, I don't know, made it more mainstream to some degree, but
made it cool.
Don't think that they did that just out of the goodness of their heart. I mean, they get these big spreads in Dick's Sporting Goods and stuff because they're making cash on all that, all that stuff.
Right.
So, it's not, without some reward. And that's all good. I mean, I'm all about companies being successful in the outdoor industry. And again, I don't even blame people. If you love Under Armour hunt gear, rock on, do what you want to do. I mean, like I said, I don't have any ill will against them. But it's one of those unfortunate situations where it's just, I look at like the Second Amendment, for example, you don't see gun companies backing down when somebody attacks them or something happens, right? And unfortunately, this is the situation that you get when you get big companies that try to dabble into areas that are outside of their core area. And unfortunately, this one just really impacts something that I care deeply about. So it puts me in a tough spot. But you wouldn't see Sitka backing down from this. You wouldn't see Donnie Vincent making apologies or anything like that. For somebody criticizing him for spearing something, or you just wouldn't see that because these companies have invested their entire life into this effort, where Under Armour hasn't, and that's okay. You know what I'm saying? I mean, it's all okay, but at the end of the day, the hunter is the one that comes out of this with the black eye, and for what it's worth, I think that what he did on the video, from what I could tell, was idiotic. I mean, it sounds like he just made an ass of himself. But, unfortunately, people do that all the time. They do it on a daily basis. Just flick on YouTube. You'll see it. Guys do it all the time.
I think it was, he got excited. He's an excitable guy. I don't think he quite made it A out of himself, but just showing how gory it was and all that really was over the top. And I think that's what's causing the backlash. But then on the other hand, with, all these people are burning their Under Armour stuff and they're standing around in Nike clothes and or a Patagonia shirt, who they all hate hunting. Like, at least stand there and burn your Under Armour stuff wearing Sitka or Mossy Oak or Cryptic or something. I don't know. It's funny to watch that.
Well, I mean, at the end of the day, like I said, it's, it's a different experience for everybody. And again, these opinions are our own. If you want to support Under Armour, awesome, do it. If you want to burn your Under Armour stuff, do that. I don't care. That's what makes our country great. Everyone can agree to disagree, but at the end of the day, I worry about the image of hunting, and this kind of ties back into our social media piece here. Just when things like this spread and just go crazy, it's really an unfortunate situation, but I don't know. Unless you got something else to add about Under Armour, I'd like to move on to something else.
No, I don't. I think we're done with Under Armour.
All right. So my next thing about social media is, and unfortunately, I find myself kind of focusing on the negatives, which kind of stinks because I see a lot of really great things on social media. I mean, some of the photography you see on social media is just outstanding. The ability to network with hunting groups and people is amazing. I mean, the guy that I hunt with the most right now, almost every weekend we hunt together, I met through Facebook and just randomly out of the blue. Is now one of my great hunting buddies. So I do believe that there's a ton to gain about with the social media, but one thing that I've noticed that social media has turned into is, who's got the best like team, or who's, the pro staff of this. And, I mean, for crying out loud, pretty much when I was watching Monster Bucks back in the day, I remember Realtree had like the elite team, and it was, Waddell and like, Dave Blanton and like, Dale Earnhardt and like a couple like the guys from Night and Hail, right? I mean, or whatever, just a small group. Now you get these companies with like, I mean, Avery was the king example. I mean, pages and pages of pro staff, and yes, we all know that pro means promotional staff, but by being on the promotional staff, as a result, it's also implied that you have some level of knowledge or some level of skill in the outdoor arena, obviously. And I mean, quite frankly, in my opinion, today, if you've got a DSLR camera, you can be on a pro staff. That's just the way it goes. If you can post attractive pictures on social media, you can be on a pro staff. I mean, that's just the reality of it. So it's really watered down that market ability for me. If someone says they're on a pro staff, it's okay. So what almost anymore? I don't know if I'm in the minority on that, but I just feel like social media has given that ability to market yourself. And if you take great pictures or like, take pictures of chicks in bikinis holding ducks and a fishing pole or something, you get a big Instagram following or whatever, and you can be a pro staff. I mean, that's the world we live in today, right?
It is. And like you said it before, like it used to be the word of mouth, and now, it travels so much faster, like you were saying, the elite, and now, there's pro staff, and then everyone has the elite staff, which the elite staff used to be what the pro staff was. And like you said, it is easy to get on with just about anyone you want to if you can take good pictures, but that's what pro staff is. It's promotional. So,
but I mean, at what point does it say like, okay, I'm a company, and to hitch my wagon to a person, it used to be, well, let me see your resume. Do you teach seminars? Do you call in competitions? Let's see what kind of game you've harvested. Are you a writer? Have you been published before? Things like that used to matter. Right. Today, it does not matter. I mean, it's not matter. And to that end, you get spin-off like small, like Beak Basher Brothers Instagram account, and then they put out a pro staff billet or whatever. So basically, if you can take pictures of your pile of birds and send it to them, you could be on their pro staff. So people are like pumping that in their bios and stuff like that. And it just seems like it's getting out of hand. Like everybody wants a status, right? Everyone wants like the title bed out there, like, yeah, I'm pro staff, whatever. I mean, where did this come from? Why did this happen? Is it because of social media? Is it because, people just get so fired up to get likes on their pictures and, all that kind of stuff? I mean, is that what it is, or is it something, is there more to it?
I don't know. I think people want to be a part of something, and definitely social media enhances that ability. You can, direct message companies, you can direct message people or whatever you want to do, and tag people, hashtag their companies. It makes it very, very simple to do that across many platforms. So
yeah, I mean, this show has benefited greatly from social media. I mean, I don't want to make any mistake, any bones about that. We have been able to dialogue with companies, get guests, sending people messages on Facebook or Twitter to get them to come on the show. I mean, it's been an invaluable tool for us in this. So I don't want to say like that's all of a bad thing. But I worry that, and it particularly you see this with the younger generation. And I'm 33. I feel like I'm, speaking from the old man perspective here, but I feel like when people hunt, all they care about is making big piles to take pictures and put it on social media. I mean, that's what they care about. I mean, half the time, like, I don't know. I get the sense a lot of times that a lot of it gets lost in the shuffle, and a lot of the experience gets lost because we're more worried about making that video that we can get, a bunch of likes on, and maybe it'll catch on and we'll get sponsored or something like that. I mean, again, I don't know. And I could be off base here, and, there could be, genuine, people just like everyday guys that like hunting that do this. But, I tend to think that there's more that aren't into that than that there are, and that a lot of the guys are out there just trying to get a name for themselves and not so much.
Where do you think social media is going to be for hunters in, say, 5 years from now?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. I think that it'll be even more, it's not going to slow down if that's what you're getting. I mean, it's going to just continue to evolve and expand. And I think it's where, and that's all great. I mean, what's not to love about being able to promote a sport that we love and an experience that we love? I just want to make sure, or I just wish, I guess this is my perspective on social media. When I post things, and I don't post a lot on my personal pages just because I don't care enough about social media and I don't have time to be doing all that. But like when I do stuff for HP, I'm doing it to try to celebrate waterfowl hunting and the successes of waterfowl hunting. I'm not doing it because I think it makes us look cool because we got a pile of birds there. I mean, I'll be the first one to say on this show, if I go out there and get skunked and sit in my blind all day and don't see a single bird, I'll be the first one to say that. I mean, I'm not embarrassed by that because, you learn something on that hunt, and it still beats anything else that I could be doing that day, minus spending time with my family, being in that situation. But I'll celebrate a great harvest just like the rest of us, or a band like I was talking about on 9/11. I mean, that's a special opportunity that I cherish, right?
Right.
I just worry that, instead of that aspect on it, you used to see this back in the day on a lot of the videos, people like biting the heads off of ducks and just trying to be like super hard and stuff like that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, it's one of those things where I wonder if we're doing more harms to ourselves than goods by, I look at just some of the names of these accounts that I see on social media and I'm like, how does that account have 15,000 followers? It's like breakneck, goose killers or something like that. I don't know, but I don't know. It's
that is,
I mean, out there. They are out there.
Okay. So we started in 2011 and we did set some boundaries on social media stuff. One, like you said, was, let's not post pictures of biting heads off or anything like that. Let's not repost stuff like that, like the real, just the tap out generation, I guess, or, the just really hardcore, try and keep it classy. Like we said that, I mean, that's almost 6 years ago. So we thought about that it wouldn't look good, and just going back to the Under Armour thing, like you have to know that isn't going to be received well. Someone out there, if they're anti-hunter, and even not an anti-hunter, but people that don't mind hunting and can see where anti-hunters are coming from, if you're trying to sway those people, that's not what you want to portray. And I think that's something to really think about when it comes to posting on social media.
Yeah, I just I have a big fear. I'm fearful right now that people are going to get like upset and offended by this, and that's not the intent here at all. The thing is, I guess for me, it's just I don't get it, right? And maybe it's me being old, right? I just don't get some of that stuff. And if someone can explain to me, why that is appealing or whatever, cool. Shoot us an email. I'd love to hear from you.
The head biting off stuff?
Well, no, not just that, but like, some people that are just so focused on the kill, right? And the aftermath of the kill. That's why, again, I love Sitka gear. I love the company. I love literally everything they stand for. But when you look at their photography, so many of the pictures that you see through their social media, they put a ton of harvests obviously too, but like so many of their pictures just tell a story. And that's for me, that's what I get. Like when I look at a picture on social media and I can see myself sitting in that situation and like living vicariously through that photo, I'm all in, dude. Like that is awesome. I love that. And it's cool because I can have that experience from someone that's in California. I can have an experience with someone who's in Montana or Florida, right? I mean, I get all that. That is great. That is one gift that social media gives us. It's that ability to transplant ourselves into someone else's experience and be like, yeah, I know how that feels. Like that's money, right? What I don't get is like the crazy, just over the top, again. Okay. So here's one. This could this could make some people mad. So if you do this, I'm trying not to attack you, please. I just don't get this. When people lay out the birds and it makes like the number, like if you kill 150 snow geese and then you lay out the number that says like 150, like you are just literally celebrating the quantity of kill, right? I mean, am I missing something there, or is that's what we're doing, right? We're celebrating the number. We're not celebrating anything else, right? Or are we? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, definitely it's a braggability issue there.
And I mean, it's not, honestly, I don't particularly have a problem with it. I mean, I'm just like, it never once do I look at that and be like, oh, 100, I think of that and say, I don't think I'd ever do that, but must have been an awesome hunt. 150 birds. That's sweet, whatever. But I just can't see myself doing a picture like that. So
yeah, and I think it comes into the thought about respecting the game and, realizing that, yeah, there are 150 animals that you harvested there. Like that's an awesome shoot, but two, you're not showing respect to the animal. And I think that's what you're going back to with the Sitka stuff. Like their photography shows respect to the game and the outdoors and, the biting heads off. It is disrespectful to that animal, which this is where I think a lot of people get caught up because we're all hunters. Did they do anything illegal? No. Is it ethical the way that they harvested it? Most likely you didn't see it if it wasn't on video. But then just the respect of the animal. And I think that's where, we're not very old, but it seems like the respect just in the world today isn't what it used to be. And I think that's what really bothers both of us.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I'll just say yes to that, and I don't, because honestly, I get it. Like I can see someone right now listening to this and being like, wow, they sound really, really judgmental, or they're really grilling, guys and that aren't doing anything wrong, and I get that. I mean, I understand how that sounds, for me to sit here and say the things I've said today. But I'm trying to not come at it as from an ignorant perspective. I just can't relate to it. I mean, I just don't get it. But if that's your thing and you're doing everything legal and you're enjoying it, I mean, do you? I mean, that's what you want, as long as you're within the law, great. I got no issues with it. It's just hard for me to relate. I don't get it. And
that's, what, that's the best part about having a podcast. We don't have a show sponsor that is going to listen to this and say, hey, we're cutting a sponsorship, or we saw some pictures you did, we're cutting that. We get to say what we think, and it's not like we don't support hunting. It's, we like to hunt, we like to kill, we like to harvest, to eat, whatever. But on top of it, we like to show respect to the game. And ultimately, that's what the Under Armour thing was about. He just the smearing blood all over his face. It wasn't even his reaction. Like, of course you're going to be pumped up if you're 15 yards from a bear and throw a spear and kill it. But the aftermath and, a lot of it now is cleaning the birds up, cleaning the animals up, wiping the blood off, taking a nice picture and posting that. And that's where...
But how about this, Dan? So how about this? If he stands there, chucks that spear, kills the bear, stays pretty much... emotionless, normal, like, oh, great hunt, like, oh, so exciting, whatever, goes up there, grabs the bear, does his little exit interview holding the bear like you see on all these shows. I mean, do we have the same backlash than we do now based on what he did? Because if you say that there's no backlash to that, then what are we arguing about? Because the argument is the killing of a bear with a spear, right? So it shouldn't be the reaction afterwards that he's being judged for. It should be the act of the kill. Am I correct with that or no?
See, it's just a very difficult situation, because I would say if he acted like that, if he, just got down on both knees and he wasn't jumping around, and then it was at night, so they let it lay overnight. The thing made it 60 yards, which means on a full sprint, it was alive for about 4 seconds. All right. So PETA said that it was alive for 24 hours, which there's no way because they made it back in 7 hours and it was dead. But when you look at that and the video goes up and there's guts laying out everywhere because the spear was literally, I mean, the size of a NFL football. I mean, the thing was huge. So, I mean, when it hit that tree and went back, I mean, it sliced it open. If you set up the video to where all the guts weren't hanging out, you didn't have blood all over yourself and all over your spear. Like, if you cleaned it up, I don't know if there would have been that backlash. I don't think we'll ever know. But I think, I mean, I keep saying it's tough, but it is tough. And it's a different ballgame when you get into bears on top of everything else. So, I mean, if you threw a spear and killed a goose, you're not going to get backlash from anyone.
Yeah. I mean, you've sent me a video that's very graphic of a goose getting his head lopped off by a guillotine archery tipped arrow.
A turkey tip, and it's gross.
Like pumping, it's like pumping blood from its neck. I mean, even for me to watch it, I'm like, wow, that is wild. Like, that's pretty intense, But I mean, you don't see people like burning down, stores over it or whatever.
Right.
It's just, it's wild. And I think there's a lot, it's a very complex issue, and that's what makes it so difficult to get through. But
like I said before, so she was vegan 3 years ago. All right. And then she realized she couldn't get the protein that her body needed. She's a weightlifter and does all that. So she started hunting and gets very lean meat from hunting. And they eat all the meat from that bear. They eat all the meat from the deer and elk that they kill. Like, they're very accomplished hunters, especially Josh. He's been hunting for a long time. And
thank you. I appreciate you saying that about me.
Well, yeah, you too. but it's, it is. I mean, once you hit that elite level, so going back to that, you build your base on being a vegan lifter that's in shape, and then you start putting dead animals on your account. Like, I can't imagine what kind of backlash she gets every time that she kills an animal. Like, that's just, that is the ultimate mix of two worlds, and she's begging for it. So when you do something extreme, you have to know that there's going to be backlash, and they just didn't go about it the right way. And that's what it is.
Well, and I think that's the important thing about social media too, is we're all responsible for our actions, right? We're all liable to be held accountable for what we do. And the fact that everyone's, we promote it so much now, it's a risk. I mean, you putting yourself out there, and like with this show, I mean, we put ourselves out here, and probably more this episode maybe than ever before, we're kind of putting our opinions out here and asking some questions about things that we don't quite understand or don't agree with, or we support, or what have you. And, we may get some backlash on this. I don't know. But I mean, I think the important thing here is, if we aren't open to having reasonable conversations about this, and if your answer to the Under Armour reaction is, I'm burning everything Under Armour that I own and I will never spend another cent with them, if that's your opinion and that's your stance, that's great. I mean, you do you. Like I've said, rock on. I will never hold that against somebody. But my fear would be that we are going to end up in this situation again down the road, but it's not going to be Under Armour this time. It'll be somebody else. It'll be another company, because this thing's going to happen again. As social media grows and people's opinions get stronger and they're getting more, more aggressive in their convictions against things and against hunters. I mean, it's going to happen again, right? I mean, look at the way that the Second Amendment is attacked time and time again. Hunters' rights are going to be attacked time and time again. And one day we're going to cross a path. We're going to come across a gun or a company that you or I love, for whatever reason, and they do something that we don't disagree with. And if we don't learn from the experiences that we've had and takeaways to try to avoid this type of backlash in the future, we're bound to just do it again. I mean, it's going to keep happening. So.
No, it does happen a lot. And look at, the biggest celebrities right now are all people that PETA have attacked. PETA, whatever you want to call it. Look at Kendall Jones, 1 million followers. All these, there's that 13-year-old girl that went on a hunt with her dad, and I think she killed a giraffe, and it's like, fed 400 people, but she's getting death threats. But it was an old male, and people just don't understand. And it's a difficult situation.
Yep. Yeah, and I mean it's literally I compare it to this. If I'm the biggest, baddest person on the planet, Jean-Claude Van Damme type dude, just whoop anybody, that doesn't mean I go around looking for fights, right? I mean, I might be able to defend myself if I get in one, but that doesn't mean I'm going to go around looking for them. It's the same way with this. I mean, we can defend our right to hunt, right? And to provide food for our families. We can defend that right. That doesn't mean I want to have to do it every time I turn around and post a picture of me hunting on social media, right? So
here's a question: are we defending our right or our privilege? I think if it's our right, then it can't be taken away. If it's our privilege, then it can be taken away, and I think we need to realize the difference in that.
Well, I consider the right to hunt. I consider it a right. I don't consider it a privilege
until they outlaw it.
Based on what?
Well, Canada's outlawing the.
Canada's not the United States.
That's true. Okay.
And also, look at the sense, and you can even take it higher. You can take it higher with the Second Amendment, right? I mean, every state has different gun laws, right? But we're protected by the Second Amendment, and we're getting kind of into the weeds here and off topic. But at the end of the day, to provide for your family, I do believe is a right, and I don't think that there's many places in outside of a handful of states that are really in a position where you have to defend that right, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But last thing I wanted to touch on when it comes to social media, and I know this is like your favorite piece. How do you feel about huntresses?
Hunter, huntress. I think they should just be called hunters. But I tell you what,
I didn't know hunter was the masculine.
No,
the right,
because
the right gender term.
I'll tell you what, there's women around here that kill more consistently than I do, and there's women that kill all over the United States, and they go and they just get it done. They know their craft. They know whether it be archery or rifle or shotgun or whatever. There's some that, I think we talked about this before. There's some girls There's some girls that get it done, and there's some that like to post pictures and get the likes. There's
no doubt that there are women out there that can hunt. Not going to argue with that. One of our best friends' mom is one of the best hunters I know.
Oh man.
She will sit down and call you in a turkey in a heartbeat. She will pull out her flintlock muzzleloader and smoke a deer. She hunts, right? And so this is not a male or female thing.
No, she dropped a Pope and Young antelope a couple years ago. She does everything.
Yeah. She's in Colorado chasing elk with a bow right now. So, enough said. But my question is, was this huntress concept, was it around before social media, or was this born out of social media?
It's just a couple years old. I think it's just born of social media.
Before social media started, I can't remember seeing a chick in a bikini, like holding up a gator or like, with a fishing rod or, whatever. And then, I don't know. Every one of them's got like perfect makeup when they're posing with the deer, or like, cut off jean shorts with like the pockets hanging out and all this kind of stuff. And it's just kind of like, you know what they're doing, right? I get it. But how do you feel about it when a company promotes people like that? How do you feel about that particular company?
Well, let me go back a second, and I will be the first to admit, I was friends and am friends, just social media friends, with a girl that was in one of these huntress competitions, and she direct messaged me on Facebook, asked for if I could go and vote for her. And it was a personal message. It wasn't a copy and paste, like 4 paragraphs long. And I actually asked, what was it about? What do you do? And she responded and told me what they did, went hunting and all this stuff. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to check out her page. And this girl, it seems like she spends about 200 days a year in the backcountry, elk hunting, sheep, everything, going out fishing, doing that. no pictures in bikini, nothing like that. So I was like, you know what? I'll vote for her. Whatever. She seems like she gets it done, and she has kill pictures. She goes out with her husband and her family and enjoys the outdoors. So, all that being said, I have voted in that before. So I don't think she won. I don't think she won,
but
that's
necessarily the huntress that we're talking about, though.
No, I think, that's a huntress competition. I think that's called the, 2016 huntress competition. But I know what you're speaking to. There, I think there's a few of them.
There's a difference. If you're a backcountry hunter and you've got like some pictures where you look like you've just taken a beating for 8 days on the mountain, awesome. And then you got a couple where you've got nice makeup on and you're standing beside a buck, that you've shot on a mount. I got no problem with that either. I mean, you see guys all the time. They put on a nice shirt and they stand next to their mount or whatever. It's not that different. What I have an issue with is every single picture you see on their page is them like completely dolled up and they're near game. And you can't, it could just be as easy as like somebody else took that deer and then they just called you over and you come and take pictures of it because you look good and, people are going to click on that. And I don't know.
I don't know how many big legit companies will only take the girls that are dolled up in bathing suits and stuff like that. It seems like smaller companies do that and they get likes from it. I don't think a lot of the bigger companies will stick around with that if they don't prove that they can actually utilize
I'll tell you right now, the first time that this was brought to my attention and I thought, wow, we're in a different era here, is when Lee and Tiffany started doing the jumping fish archery episode every year.
Yeah. Where
they would like go on the boat and she would be in a bikini top. And I'm like, there's nothing wrong with that, right? Obviously, she's incredibly attractive. She looks good. Guys throw themselves all over, but like, what they're accomplishing here, right? They're a whitetail hunting show. They do like one episode or two of elk. Now they're doing a couple ducks or whatever, but like that was the staple, right? And it's like, I was like, wow, they're, kind of putting it out there. I don't remember, I'm trying to think of like another situation where I've seen one of the big names kind of do it, something like that. But that was the first time where I was like, wow, this is this is going to get a lot of views.
Yeah.
A lot of people are into this guy, are going to be into this. And, you see it now, it's just everywhere. It's like, cooler companies are huge with this. You see lots of chicks and again, a lot of their stuffs are in bikinis and they're on boats and they're like, whatever. I get it. But, it's something that's come up on social media a lot, asking questions about this. And I just, it's one of those things where I just, again, if I see a chick that looks good and she's holding like my favorite duck call or a duck call, let's say, cool. Like, maybe I'll even like the picture. In no way, shape, or form is that going to make me want to go buy that call. Just not, right? It's just not. But if I see a sound if they post a picture and some guy's on there just running it hot and it sounds awesome, maybe then I'm going to go look at it, right? But
and
I'm
that's
just wondering,
that's a going back to kind of just difference in mentalities. It goes back to the sex sells and hot chicks on motorcycles. And if you look, all right, let's take this for example. A lot of these girls that they'll post a picture of, the bottom half of their eyes, their nose, lips, chin, and the rest is their body on a selfie situation. And you get some remarks on there that are, there's just some pervs, but sex sells. And that's where, I don't know, like you said, Lee and Tiffany did that and they're still around and they know that situation, but for the average person that's looking for a ton of numbers, like a lot of guys are going to buy into that. And that's just the way that the males think, I guess.
And I get that, but is it strictly for the social media reach, or do they truly believe, or are they seeing increased, revenue and product moving based on, relationships or using this type of strategy, on their social media? I just don't know if that truly correlates or not.
It has to a little bit, I would think.
I would guess, but I don't know. Maybe it works for some, but again, I get why they're doing it. It's just,
I think we need to find some some models and test it out and
some
see
hot chicks to
see if
take pictures with like podcast microphones and stuff,
and see what our numbers do, and then we'll have our answer.
Yeah. That's a good idea. I'll write that down. Well, I mean, I think we've belabored on this enough, and I do want to reemphasize the fact that there is a lot of good that comes out of social media. I mean, our Facebook listeners group, we get an opportunity to talk with. I think we're up to almost 400 people in there now, dialoguing about waterfowl hunting and questions and experiences and DIY stuff and just all of that really, really good stuff. I get a ton of waterfowl related news, conservation efforts, things like that through Twitter and Facebook. I mean, it's awesome. I always feel like I can find some good waterfowl content on social media. Having said that, I can always find some bad too. But like anything, you kind of take the good with the bad and you sort of, kind of weigh it for what it is. But, I think there's a lot that we've gained from it. I think that there's some that we've hurt ourselves with. And I just hope that moving forward, we can, get more on the former and less on the latter where, it's all positive stuff that's coming out about the outdoor industry and waterfowl hunting, and we can continue to build on it. And, and just a quick side note, this isn't social media related, but let's use Duck Dynasty for an example, right? I don't think anybody out there is going to try to defend Duck Commander as the best call on the market, right? But they had an interesting story and they got a platform. And you may hate Duck Dynasty, and that's what everyone calls like, idiots that are related to duck hunting. They call them the Duck Dynasty type guys or whatever. But when you take a step back and you look at like the fact that when you walk into a Walmart and how much Duck Dynasty memorabilia and
my gosh,
apparel you see, and just how many people like that, Duck Dynasty has raised the profile of duck hunting across the entire landscape by an incredible margin. And I mean, for better, for worse, the Robinsons are out there defending the lifestyle, I mean, you may not be into, the fact that their show's kind of fake and all this other stuff, but I mean, they're family of faith. They're out there defending, their beliefs in waterfowl hunting and the outdoor hunting in general. So, take that for what it is. But I mean, look at a lot of positive has come out of, them being on TV, and they've taken on some social issues and they stood their ground on a lot of social issues too. So I got to tip my cap to them on that. Whether they align with your social beliefs or not, I will always tip my cap to somebody who's steadfast in their convictions. So if you stand for what you believe in, rock on, and I'll support you on that. So, or at least I'll support you in your right to do that. Let's put it that way. But things like that can be very, very positive, even though maybe some of us within the community, want to look down upon them. But, for better, for worse, it can have an impact on the community as a whole. So I think that's kind of my biggest takeaway from social media is that we all bear a little bit of responsibility and doing the right thing and trying to, paint hunters in the best light possible.
I agree. Go out there, have fun, be safe, be ethical, and obey the laws of the land. And I think we beat this horse pretty good today.
Yeah. So keep an eye out for us. We're going to be coming to you a lot more regularly here as the season rolls in. And next week we'll get into some more nuts and bolts hunting stuff. But, we wanted to just take an episode here and kind of address some of these things. And I hope, we didn't offend anybody out there. And, if you want to engage us in a dialogue, we'd love to do that. And, we're open to everybody's, opinion and everything like that on here and we respect everybody's opportunity to have that opinion. So if you want to chat with us about it, do it. Send us an email, come over to the listeners group, something like that. And, we'll catch up. Before we part this week, I do want to take a minute to thank the partners of our show that help make it possible for us to put the podcast out. Sitka Gear, Sport Ear, DeLorme, Higdon Outdoors, and Big Al Silhouette Decoys. Dan, I know the DeLorme, the InReach Explorer was critical for you and your hunt out west, and I enjoyed being able to log into the little website and kind of see where you were at and see what messages that you were posting and kind of stuff like that. That was pretty fun.
I'll tell you what, the InReach with the Hunt app,
the Earthmate app, right?
Yeah. And they upgraded to the Hunt version. It was incredible. I mean, to the T where we were at. And here's a funny story. And the map share. The map share is what you were checking in on, and you pretty much text a message to the map share, and they see, oh, I just had a cow at 25 yards, no shot, whatever, blah blah. I woke up and knocked ice off my tent and had to thaw out my water bottle, stuff like that, and it shows exactly where you sent it from. Which, if you don't want people to know where you're hunting at, you might not want to share that map share with them. But if you don't care, it's really cool to let them be able to follow it. But yeah, that was, so here's a story. We set up for a little calling sequence, and called for about half an hour, and nothing, 45 minutes, nothing, an hour, nothing. So we end up hiking up about 3/4 of a mile, pretty much straight uphill. And I was like, man, my eyes feel blurry, and I don't know if I'm just out of shape or what. And then I was like, I forgot my glasses. I put my glasses down when I was, I think I changed my shirt. I took a layer off, and I'm sitting there, and I was like, you have to be kidding me. Well, with the tracking on the inReach, it shows a dot I think I had it set to every 10 minutes. So I had 6 dots where we were set calling. So I knew exactly where my location was, and I hiked back down, and it got me right back. I went back a totally different way because we kind of made a C shape. So I made a direct beeline for where my glasses were at. It took me about an hour and a half, but I made it exactly back to where we were at and back up. And my dad and the other hunting buddy had taken a nap while I was gone. So that was nice of them to pick right back up when I got there. But the inReach absolutely, one, got me back to that location, which I never would have been able to found. And just traversing those mountains and not having the scouting ability in the summertime or knowing those locations, we were able to jump around quite a bit and had no problem getting back to where we needed to go. So, DeLorme/Garmin, the inReach and the Hunt app, it was amazing. And, I recommend it to anyone going on trips.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, that's very, very cool. So definitely check them out if you're interested in going out west, or, even, I use mine here on the East Coast, just waterfowl hunting and stuff like that. So definitely the phone app has been critical for me, especially with all the landowner information and all that kind of stuff. So definitely check them out. And let's go ahead and put a bow on this one this week. All right, we appreciate you checking out episode 55 of the HP Outdoors Waterfowl Podcast. Hopefully you enjoyed our discussion about social media. If you got comments about what we talked about, go ahead and reach out to us, and we'd love to engage with you there. If you want to check out any past episodes of the show, head over to hpoutdoors.com or check us out on iTunes. If you haven't had a chance yet, please consider leaving us a 5-star rating and review. Definitely helps us out and reaching new listeners. So we're coming back to you now, season 3, a little more regularly. So until next time, for Dan, I'm Josh. Take care.